Hello everyone, welcome back to our Geography NCERT series. In the last session, we explored Chapter 3, Motions of the Earth, where we understood how the Earth's rotation and revolution shape day and night and seasons. Today, we move on to Chapter 4, Maps. This chapter is not too important from the exam point of view, but we will still do it for the sake of completion. In the previous chapter, we discussed the globe. It is a 3D miniature model of the Earth. It is ideal for understanding the shape, the size, and the rotation of the Earth. It also accurately depicts the size of continents, oceans, and other features. However, a globe is not practical when we want to study specific areas like a country, state, district, or even a town. It is also not easy to carry around. That's where maps come in. A map is a 2D representation of the Earth's surface or a part of it drawn on a flat surface according to scale. Unlike a globe, a map can give more detailed information about smaller areas and is more convenient to use for planning, navigation, and analysis. But here's the tricky part. The Earth is a sphere, but a map is drawn on a flat surface. Flattening a 3D surface onto a 2D sheet always causes distortions either in shape, area, direction, or distance. To reduce these distortions, mapmakers use map projections, which are mathematical techniques to transfer the curved surface of the Earth onto a flat map. One of the most widely used projections is the Mercator projection. The Mercator projection is a cylindrical projection of the Earth that represents shapes and directions accurately near the equator, making it popular for marine navigation. However, at higher latitudes, it distorts areas and distances. You'll notice that Greenland appears almost as large as Africa on the Mercator map. While in reality, Africa is almost 14 times larger than Greenland. This happens because longitudes on the Mercator map are shown as equidistant vertical lines, even though in reality, as we saw in the previous classes, that the distance between longitudes decreases towards the poles where all the longitudes converge. This shows why it's important to understand the limitations of maps and always consider which projection is being used. Still, maps are extremely useful to us for various purposes. From ancient civilization to modern times, mapmaking has played a crucial role in helping us navigate, understand, and interpret the world around us. They provide a visual representation of the space around us, allowing us to understand not only layouts but also the relationship between different geographical features. In short, they help us develop a better understanding of our surroundings. When several maps are compiled into a single book, we call it an atlas. An atlas typically includes physical maps, political maps, and thematic maps and can vary in scale and detail. Further, atlases provide more detailed and diverse information than a globe. Now let's see the three different types of maps: physical, political, and thematic. Let's start with physical maps. Physical maps are maps that show natural features of the Earth such as mountains, plateaus, plains, deserts, rivers, oceans, etc. They are also called relief maps. For example, in this map you can see the Himalayan range, the Ganga River basin, the Great Indian Desert, the Chota Nagpur Plateau, and the Arabian Sea and the Bay of Bengal. So physical maps, in short, show us the natural features of Earth. Political maps are maps that show man-made boundaries like that of a country. They also show boundaries of states, cities, districts, towns, and villages. For example, in this map you can see India and the boundaries of the states. In this map we can see the state of Karnataka and the different districts in Karnataka state. Here we can see the city of Bengaluru and the different areas and wards within the city. So in short, political maps are maps that show us man-made boundaries. Then we have thematic maps. Thematic maps are maps that represent specific data on themes such as rainfall, population, crops, industries, land use, etc. For example, in this map, we can see the land use of a locality in the city of Bengaluru. Here, residential areas are in yellow, commercial areas are in blue, and public and semi-public areas are in red. Similarly, in this map, you can see the rainfall pattern of India. Here you can see the population pattern of different states. Here we can see the distribution of different commercial crops across India, such as sugarcane, cotton, jute, tea, and coffee. So in short, thematic maps represent specific data on different themes. These maps are extremely useful in planning, administration, and governance. Now that we've seen the examples of a few maps, let's talk about components within these maps. There are three components of maps: distance, direction, and symbols. Let's go through each of them, starting with distance. Since the real world is too large to represent on a map, we reduce it proportionally using a scale. You can see the scale here at the bottom of the map. Scale is the ratio between the actual distance on the ground and the distance shown on the map. Since it is proportional, the scale can be used for accurately measuring the distance between places. For example, in the scale in this map, you can see that 1 centimeter on the map represents 10 meters on the ground. So suppose the distance from A to B is 2 centimeters, from B to M is 3 centimeters, from M to C is 4 centimeters, and from C to E is 5 centimeters on this map. On the actual ground, it will be 20 meters, 30 meters, 40 meters, and 50 meters, making it a total of 140 meters between Karim's house and the post office. Thus, the scale is very important in any map as it aids in the calculation of distances between any two places on the map. The second component is direction. Maps usually have a north line, that is an arrow marked with the letter N, usually at the upper right hand corner. Once north is known, the other directions can be easily figured out, like south, east, and west. If you're standing facing the north, your back would face the south, your right side would face the east, and your left side would face the west. These important directions, that is north, south, east, and west, are called cardinal points or cardinal directions. These are further divided into northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest, which are called intermediate directions, which help us locate a place more accurately. The last component is symbols. Since it is not possible to draw real shapes of all the features like buildings, roads, bridges, and trees on the map, we use symbols. Symbols make it easy to interpret a map even if it's in a different language. Maps have a universal language that can be understood by all. We have symbols for railway lines like broad gauge, meter gauge, and railway stations. We have symbols for roads like metalled roads and unmetalled roads. Then for boundaries like international boundary, state boundary, and district boundary. For rivers, wells, tanks, canals, bridges. For religious places, for public offices, for settlements and graveyards, and for trees and grass. These symbols are extremely important for the interpretation of maps, regardless of the language they are in. Now let's see the last two concepts of sketch and plan. A sketch is a rough drawing of a place based on memory or observation, and it is not to scale. For example, here you can see the map of an area around a university, which is according to scale, and on the left you can see a sketch of the same area, which is based on memory and observations and not according to scale. Then we come to a plan. A plan is a detailed drawing of a small area on a large scale. It is used to show exact dimensions like length and breadth of rooms, plots, etc. Here you can see the plan of a plotted development. Compared to a map, it is more detailed and it shows exact dimensions. Let's quickly recap what we've done in today's class. In the last class, we saw the globe, which is a 3D model of the Earth, and in this class, we've seen maps, which is a 2D representation of the Earth. A map is a 2D representation of the Earth's surface or a part of it drawn on a flat surface and according to scale. In order to flatten a 3D surface onto a 2D map, we use projections, and we saw the most famous projection, the Mercator projection. Also, we saw the concept of atlas, where several maps are compiled into a single book. Further, we saw types of maps. There are physical maps, political maps, and thematic maps. Physical maps show the natural features of Earth, such as mountains, plateaus, plains, rivers, oceans, etc. These are also called relief maps. Political maps are maps that show man-made boundaries, like countries, states, districts, towns, villages, etc. And thematic maps are maps on different themes that are based on specific data, for example, the rainfall pattern of India. Then we saw the components of maps. The three components are distance, direction, and symbols. To measure accurate distances on a map, we use a scale, and we saw that the measurement of a scale is proportional to the actual distance on the ground. Coming to direction, we saw cardinal directions, that is north, south, east, and west, and then we saw intermediate directions, that is northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. These points help in determining the direction. Lastly, we saw symbols. Symbols are universal and they help in the interpretation of different maps. Lastly, we saw the concepts of sketch and plan. Sketch is a rough drawing of a place based on memory or observation, and this is not according to scale. Whereas a plan is a detailed drawing of a small area on a large scale, and plans are always according to scale. That brings us to the end of Chapter 4. In the next video, we'll explore Chapter 5, Major Domains of the Earth. If you found this helpful, do like and share this video and subscribe to Clinch it for more such content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.